right. All right. Hi, everybody. I'm Robert Hackett. I'm a reporter at Fortune, and here with Joe Lubin, co-founder of Ethereum. I want to kick things off with a poll first off. How many people here own cryptocurrency? That's a lot of people. That's
quite a lot of hands.
That's maybe more than half of that?
I think it's 120%.
Did you raise your hand?
I did not, actually.
Okay. But you do own cryptocurrency, right?
I have a few.
All right. So maybe for the people who don't own cryptocurrency and maybe aren't as familiar with it, you could provide a definition.
Definition of cryptocurrency.
What's it all about?
So let's start with Bitcoin. Bitcoin, in 2008, Satoshi Nakamoto, a person or a group, invented Bitcoin. And really, Satoshi invented at least three different things. The first was Bitcoin, the cryptocurrency, essentially an application on the second thing, which was blockchain. Blockchain is a peer-to-peer network. It's a new kind of database system that is trustful. It's been called the trust machine by The Economist. The third thing is cryptoeconomics. Cryptoeconomics marries the two, essentially enables this peer-to-peer, of the people, by the people, for the people system to operate. It incentivizes the people to run this system effectively, to process and validate transactions and keep the network secure. Bitcoin is basically the first application on this new kind of trusted database system.
And you mentioned Satoshi Nakamoto. Now, this is someone or some group of people who we don't know.
Correct.
You don't know who that is, right?
I do not know Satoshi.
Okay, just checking. Tell us a little bit about Ethereum and how Ethereum differs from Bitcoin.
Sure. So in around 2012, many people, myself, various others, began to believe that this new kind of database technology that could be considered trust minimized or veridical in the sense of or pertaining to the truth. This new kind of database technology could and should be used for lots of different kinds of applications, not just the application of money. So Bitcoin was an experiment in monetary theory, but many of us figured average software engineers should be able to build trustful applications on a blockchain system. The problem is that Bitcoin was designed to uniquely support the Bitcoin token, the money application. So various different approaches were tried, meta protocols, other kinds of blockchains, and those were all essentially unscalable because their developers were trying to add one use case at a time at the protocol level. So the inventor of Ethereum, Vitalik Buterin, took a step back and decided that at each node of the peer-to-peer network, we should put a general purpose computer, a virtual machine, and enable software developers around the world to identify their own problems and all build their own solutions.
Now, Vitalik is a really interesting guy. I actually had the pleasure of meeting him and profiling him for Fortune. But how did you two sync up? How did you get to know him? Where did this all come from?
So we're both from Toronto. I reached out to another founder of Ethereum, and I was going to go to a meetup, a Bitcoin meetup back then, and he indicated to me that Vitalik had written this very interesting paper and I should take a look at it. So I went a few days later, spoke with Vitalik for a while, read the white paper that night, and stayed close to the group for a couple of weeks. We ended up all going away, spending time together in a house in advance of the North American Bitcoin conference, at which Vitalik was delivering the Ethereum paper, and we formed the project in that house.
What was your first?
It was January 2014.
Got it. And what was your first impression of Vitalik?
My first impression was, and it was just through his writing, was that this guy's a very clear thinker and clear writer. And I read his articles for a year or so until I realized that he was 18 at the time when he was writing those articles. And so deep respect for his intellect, for his ability to run simulations of all sorts of different blockchain systems in his head, and for his integrity. He's a great leader for the project.
So I want to switch gears and ask the audience again. A lot of people raised their hands and said that they own cryptocurrency. How many people use cryptocurrency?
Just one person.
Just one person. What did you buy? I can't hear. So these assets have been going up in crazy amounts in value. Bitcoin, last I checked, was above $7,000 per Bitcoin. That may have changed. That seems to change by the hour these days. Yeah. Ethereum's trading around $300. And a lot of this is driven by speculation, people hoping that the value will go up over time and continue to go up. Do you think that we're in a bubble right now, or is there a long road for this thing?
I think there are good kinds of bubbles and bad kinds of bubbles, and I think we're in a very good kind of bubble.
A good kind of bubble.
A very good kind of bubble. The prospects of this technology are so profound. Essentially, we're moving from a world in which in the Web 2.0 world, where we build siloed systems on legacy database technology, which constrains them to be in their silos, to a world in which this new shared, trustworthy database infrastructure can be used to build collaborative systems. So sectors, supply chains, value chains, whole industries can build their infrastructure in a non-redundant, fluid, shareable way. And so that, in my opinion, is going to be a dramatic sea change in how we build information technology systems in business, in government, et cetera. And so given that sort of magnitude of change, the fact that speculators are interested, just as they were in the dot-com 1.0 era, makes a ton of sense. And it's early days in terms of the maturity of these networks. It's early days in terms of the applications that are on these networks, but it's going to change everything, and so it makes a lot of sense to get involved with it. And the value of having good bubbles is that people move value from the legacy economy into this new decentralized online economy. They raise the price of these tokens, whether it's the protocol tokens like Bitcoin or Ethereum, or tokens, ICOs on top of Ethereum. Essentially, buying those tokens enables business developers and software developers to get fully engaged, to be incentivized to add value to the system. So if the first killer application on Ethereum is the token launch, that's a great thing because it causes so many people to build out the infrastructure. So bubble, but using that bubble valuation, you're building a lot of fundamental infrastructure.
So it seems like every entrepreneur right now has their own blockchain they're pitching, their own cryptocurrency, token, and white paper. How many white papers have you read? I imagine you've read a lot.
The number I've read is maybe in the low hundreds. The number I've received is much higher.
And how many have you read that were good?
That were good? Lots of them are good. So we've got a lot of projects going on at our company Consensus, and we see a lot of projects. We've got a venture arm, and we probably get 20 emails a day from new projects. And there's a lot of smart people out there trying to explore the solution space, either at the protocol level with new blockchain approaches or at the application layer.
What is the most exciting application for blockchains that you've seen?
So the most foundational thing is identity, self-sovereign identity. We're moving from a Web 2.0 world, that world of siloed information, siloed business systems, in which the businesses are in a somewhat adversarial relationship with their customers, to that world of open platforms, end-sided markets built on protocol-based open platforms. So that's that share more shareable economy. In order to be one of the roles in these end-sided markets, you're going to be accessing all of that from your identity. Your identity in the Web 2.0 world is really quite broken. We spray aspects of our identity throughout the internet. It gets stored on corporate servers. It gets monetized by corporations and abused and stolen by hackers. Self-sovereign identity is going to be encrypted. It's going to be controllable thoroughly from our side of the browser. It's going to have granular elements selectively disclosable in situations designated by the user, and you're going to be interacting on all these open platforms from your identity. So it's going to not
be like Equifax, basically.
The opposite of Equifax. And essentially these open platforms, constructed by all these identities, whether they're corporate or personal, they're going to emerge sets of services where previously a business would have offered those services.
How worried should big tech companies be about this new world? And we've got just a few minutes left, so if we could keep it
short,
concise.
They should be very worried.
Very worried.
No, so lots of tech companies do lots of great things, and thank God for all of them. They brought us to where we are. But they're operating in their own walled garden silos, their top-down command and control structures. We've wrapped the world in these instantaneous communication networks. We have mechanisms to make decisions within 10 minutes in Bitcoin amongst a set of actors, half of which can be malicious. In Ethereum, we can make decisions in 14 seconds and soon 5 seconds. So it's a new paradigm for organizing how we build systems and how we interoperate. And certain companies will embrace some of that, will become aware early on and either build parallel systems while they're still running their infrastructure for the older cohorts, or they'll just keep doing their business thinking things are great and be usurped essentially by better ways of doing things. So it's, I think we've seen that over thousands of years. There are lots of companies that were dominant in the 50s that don't have much impact on our lives right now.
Now, paint a picture for me also, 1 year out from now, where are we going to be, 5 years and 10 or 20 years?
That's a very hard question because it's moving so fast. 1 year with respect to Ethereum, we're going to replace the proof of work algorithm with a much more efficient proof of stake algorithm. So that's going to give us greater scalability. We're also going to probably have several different scalability mechanisms that are actually either about to be put in place or actually working. So something like state channels enables lots of transactions to be off blockchain and settled on the blockchain. Sharding and Plasma are both systems that are being built right now that will take limited scalability in terms of transactional throughput to effectively unlimited, infinite scalability over the next 2, 3, 5 years. When we get to the ability to run tens of thousands or millions of transactions per second on this world computer, then all the applications that we're already building and can envision can actually be delivered to consumers. 5 years from now, I think we're going to see a lot of companies with their own business processes on their own corporate blockchains. We're going to see consortia form whenever companies want to work together but need to share infrastructure rather than one company using another company's infrastructure. We're going to see lots of companies having use cases on the public blockchain.
And what sense do you get from regulators about how they're eyeing this? Are they going to put the slap down on it all?
Yeah, so other than money laundering, anti-terrorist concerns by a very small subset of regulators are extremely excited about this technology. We talk to groups all around the world very regularly, actually, and they're excited about being part of shared infrastructure where you have these value chains and you can have your regulator node. You can have, instead of post facto de jure kind of regulation where they go in and forensically deal with situations, they'll be able to write specifications. They might write test suites. If you're a bank or an insurance company, you offer software, it's going to pass the tests and therefore be compliant. And it'll be virtually impossible if these things are built correctly to be out of compliance or to fat finger a trade or something like that. So it's going to be real-time regulation that's much less wasteful.
So generally excited, maybe just not when Floyd Mayweather and Paris Hilton start pumping the ICOs.
Yeah, exactly. I think the SEC may have dampened that activity by saying that celebrities pumping ICOs could be considered responsible.
Well, anyway, that's all we have time for today. Thank you so much for joining.
Thanks, Robert.
Thank you all for listening in.